folks, this call is being recorded. And as you know, we place our recordings on our YouTube channel. So if you don't want to be recorded, you may want to drop off now. And with that, let's start with our topic of discussion. First of all, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining for the session of Azure Power Lunch. And today's our topic is Managed DevOps Pools. So just like we always do, we're gonna go look at what this public preview is all about. Just keep in mind, this is in public preview. What are some of the use cases, features, architecture, and a lot of time will be spent in the demo. Okay. So first of all, why you need why we need a new DevOps service? So let's spend a few minutes looking at the landscape. So we have right now called Azure DevOps agents, which are called sometimes Azure Pipeline agents. These are Microsoft hosted agents, and you can spin those up with your pipelines. There are some of the limitations are that you cannot pick the SKU. Okay, if you want a larger SKU, if you want to connect those to your virtual networks, things like that, that is not available. Of course, you can do a hosted agent. That's does the job, but then you have to run it and you have to kind of maintain, manage the infrastructure and all that. That's another thing. If we look at the Azure VM scale set agent, they do address a number of kind of limitations, but at the same time, once again, you have a VM scale set that is deployed inside your virtual network in your subscription, and you are once again responsible for feeding and caring of that VM scale set. Okay, so that's yes, the overhead is definitely reduced, but it's still there. So that's where we have that's where these managed DevOps pools come into picture. They provide you a best of both worlds. They combine the flexibility that you have with, the kind of offhand approach that you have with Azure Microsoft hosted agents with VM scales agents. So you have, think of it, you have now a scale set of Microsoft hosted agent where you can have like in a scale set where you can pick the VM SKU, where you can pick the image, you can deploy those into a virtual network, you can pick when they start, you can do a lot of things, and we will look at the demo. It allows you to do that. And the key thing is you don't see that VM scale set. It's kind of abstracted out. So you don't have to worry about, okay, now I have to do any patching or updating. All of that is taken care of by Microsoft. You just bring in the image. You can bring that image from the built-in image that Microsoft has. You can bring image from the marketplace. You can bring images from your own compute gallery. And most organizations will do that most probably because they want to make sure that these images that their built agent run meets their security requirement. Okay. And here are some of the benefits. So first of all, less time in management. You focus more on kind of your core task, which is the making sure that these built agents meet the or your corporate requirement with the minimal effort, like bringing your own images, picking up whatever VM SKU that you want to run. Okay, and at the same time, um, they're scalable, so they can scale up to a certain number of VMs, and you can preset it, and we will take a look at that as well. And then this can scale down as well. Okay, so you only pay when these VMs are running. And finally, you can, as I said, you can connect those, you can drop in those inside a virtual network. So if you have some services that you are deploying directly from your virtual network, let's say that you have a um, app service that is running, that you have private endpoint, and that service is connected to your virtual network. You can push out the code to that service without making it public and things like that, since it's connected to VNet. So all of these things are possible with this service, as I said. And I have in the resources, I have shared a few links, and one of those links is very interesting, which talks about the origins of this service. You know, and this service was initially being developed inside Microsoft as an internal service for our own app team to build their services. And then now we are, and that's a kind of, they have discussed this, there's no kind of, it's not an NDA or secret information. They have talked about it, like what is the origin story of this service, and it's an interesting read. I have a link in the resources so you can take a look. Okay, some of the key features, and I think some of those things we already talk about it. Like you can have stateful and stateless agents. You can keep the state for 7 days. Um, things, and we will take a look at that as well. Some of the things that are not there but will be available in GA, because just keep in mind that this service is in public preview, okay, as we speak. And by GA, the biggest one I think is the spot instances, because that can have the potential of bringing down the cost of these VM by 80%. So you can use, if you're not aware, spot capacity or spot instances are based on the capacity that we have, the extra capacity that we have in our um, data centers, and you can take advantage of that capacity given, but you should know that that capacity can be taken away at any time. But in any case, you can take the advantage of that extra capacity, and that's what spot instances is. So you will be able to use it by GA, and then you can have container agents as well. Okay, and one key thing about high availability, let's say that you were running this service in a certain region, and that region has issues, and now your whole build process, or CI/CD pipeline is out of commission. Not anymore. You will be able to have another geographic region where you can fail over. So that's a big thing. I mean, for enterprises which are constantly deploying their infrastructure in multiple regions, and they will be able to do that with this feature once that is available in GA. Any questions, folks? Okay, so let's quickly jump into the demo. Okay, so let's go in, and I am going to go in here. So first of all, let's create a managed DevOps pool. But before you can create a managed DevOps pool, you have to have a dev center. So I have a couple of dev center, and just keep in mind the region where your dev center is, that's the region you will be creating your managed DevOps pool. Okay. It cannot be created in a region other than your where your dev center is. So it's kind of if you don't know dev center, I mean, you can create a dev environments projects underneath DevBox projects. So that's what dev center is. So I have a dev center in EU and in North Europe region, and as you can see, I can do DevOps, I can create environments, catalog, things like that. So this is quickly provisioned dev environments. That's underneath those lives the um, managed DevOps pool. So let's go in here and let's do that. Let's go in the managed DevOps pool. I have a few created. Let's create a new one and walk through the steps of creating. And I will explain like how these things are outlined. So I'm going to use an existing resource group, and then I'm going to use an existing. So I have a dev center and I have a project. I'm going to use the same one in regards to the uh, it will require a Azure DevOps project. So this is my Azure DevOps project that I'm gonna be using. I'm gonna put it here. Name of the pool. So I'm gonna name it 2. So this is my pool name. Okay, how many max agent that you will need? Okay, so there is a max agent means, let's say that you are building a lot of for that project you're building a lot of applications and those things are going on. How many projects, how many agents you can have running simultaneously? Because one agent can do one build at a time. Okay, that's what dictates. And just keep in mind, if there's no build running, they will be drained back to 0. And this number is important because if you have standby agents, and I will explain, that number will come into picture. So let's say we are gonna have, let's say, 10 agents. Okay, and then what is the agent size? Okay, so there's no quota available. We will go with 1 or maybe 2. So let's go with 1. Um, just keep in mind this is a Azure internal subscription, so our quotas are slightly different than what you see on your subscription. We have less quota, we give more quota to the customer. Okay, let's move on. And then that's where you can change the size. Okay, and this is one important thing to note. You will see some SKUs are available and some are not available. Basically, there is no quota. You can request quota for those SKUs. So if you need, let's say, an M series VM or N series or whatever VM you need, you can request quota and that quota will be available and then you can pick that VM. Then you want the OS disk for the standard SSD, premium, whatever you can pick from here. And then what are the images that you are gonna be using? So that's another thing that is important. These are the Azure pipeline images. If you're used to that, you can pick one of these images, or you can use select images from here. These are all the images that you can pick. Another thing that you can do is you can you can use your own compute gallery. I don't have a compute gallery right now, but if I had one, I will be using images from this compute gallery in, I could have been using it. I think most organizations are going to have their images in the compute gallery based on marketplace images or whatsoever with modification, they're going to be using it. So that you can do. So that's that. And then let's add another image just for the demo purposes. So there are 2 images. This is the number. So this is the basic stuff. Okay. Then this is important. Fresh agent every time, or you want to use the same agent which can be used on multiple builds. If I use, yeah, please go ahead. A question. So if you want to use the same agent, then you can say either you can use a standby or manual and the max time to live. Just keep in mind that if you use the same agent, it will be there for 7 days and then it will be recycled. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And um, let's talk about the standby agent mode. Okay, so let's say that you want your building and you have set the max agent to 10. As the bills are coming in, sometime it takes a bit extra time because you're requesting the agent, it is being delivered to your DevOps pool. Building that agent may take some time. What you can do is you can create standby agents, and what that means is there are going to be some agents that will be added to your pool but they won't be running. Okay, they will be on standby, so your build will run faster. Just keep in mind, if you have 10 agents, let's say 5 agents are actually doing the build, there will be 5 agents will be on standby. Okay, if you have max of so that's how this calculation works. Okay, you can set that up to manual. Okay, and there is a lot more detail. Probably we will have to, I mean, you need another session to cover it, all of these details, which are kind of manual. If you know your user pattern, you can set those up here. Okay, you can say, I wanna start on Sunday at this time and end time is this. So this is my standby. So let's say that you're only doing build on Sundays for some reason, or maybe Monday afternoon or whatever time. You can only do standbys during that time because there's a lot of builds going on at that time. You need standbys so you can quickly do those builds. Or maybe doing it every day, certain time. You can set up that time window here. Okay. And so that's that. And then you have the max time to live. This is related to basically the agent state, which is same agent can be used by multiple builds. Okay. And then what is the standby percentage? How many of these are gonna be Ubuntu 20, and how many are gonna be Ubuntu 22.04? So that's something that you can. By the way, if you do star star, it's gonna equal distribution. But let's say I want 40% of Ubuntu 20, and I want 60% of Ubuntu. So that's how I can divide this limit. See, all of that. One other way of doing it is truly automatic. In that case, what you're saying is forget about what time they spin up. Basically, system is gonna learn how your builds are happening. And that's how it's gonna bring those standby agents up and do all of that. Just keep that in mind that this thing, it will, based on what you say, like 50% cost, 50% performance, it will adjust how it should spin up these. So, for example, if I'm very cost conscious, you know, then I may there may not be many standby agents, because standby agent, even though they're not running build, you are still, paying for those agents. On the other hand, if you have more standby agents, you have more performance, but your cost will increase. So that's kind of thing, which is more important to you, which is kind of more thing that you focus on. Got it? So that's that. So let's say we do fresh agents, we do off. So let's move on to the next one. And that's another thing which is important. So few things you have to remember. By default, you don't have to do anything. It will run in a network in Azure, and that's it. But let's say that your compliance requirements are that it needs to run in a virtual machine. Okay, how do you do that? That's where you can say agent injected into an existing virtual network. Okay. So what you will do is you will pick up your subscription, and let's say that now you pick up a virtual network, and this is my virtual network. Just keep in mind before you do that, a few things that you have to do. Number one, go into that virtual network and give that virtual network reader and contributor access. So let me show it to you here. So this is the service principal. Let me show you here. Oh, by the way, in the meantime, any questions, folks? So let's go into virtual networks. Actually, let me go to the resource group. So I'm in the resource group. I'm going to go into the virtual network. Okay, so this is the virtual network I just created in North Europe. What I need to do is in the access control, I need to give add role assignment, and I need to give reader, and there is a network contributor that you should see here. Both of these, this service principal. Okay, select members. I'm going to go in here, and this is the service principal that I need to give access, reader and contributor. That's one thing. Second thing that I need to do is I need to go onto that virtual network, the subnet where I am deploying or injecting this particular pool. I need to go in. For example, this is app pool. I need to go in and I need to delegate this pool. So basically, I'm going to go in here. This is the um, service delegation. Where is the service delegation? Yes, that's what I need to do. I need to delegate this pool to this one. So once I'm done with it, then it will be able to deploy. So those two things, please remember that they're in documentation, very well documented. Please go through the document. But just in case, number one, give that service principal access to reader and network contributor role. You can create a custom role as well. It's documented as well. And you need to give this, Microsoft of DevOps infrastructure slash pools. You need to delegate this subnet to that. You cannot deploy anything else in that subnet. Okay. So once you do that, and by the way, it doesn't detect it if you haven't done it already. It will throw an error. Okay, an error is pretty descriptive, but just remember that. And then you can add extra storage. So let's say that you want to add a data disk. You can provide the capacity, and let's say you want to have 100 GB disk default, and the drive letter is G. You can do it. That's that. And let's move on to this one. And that's where you go in and you say you can use a pool in multiple organization. By default, it is attached to an organization and it attached to all the projects in that organization. So you have to do that. And then what permissions that you want to give to pool administrators, like creator only, inherit permission from the project, um, and specific. So all of that you can do that, and after that, just review and create and run it. We are not going to run it since we already, it takes some time to create it. So let's go to the DevOps pool that already existed. This is the one, and this is how it will look like when you come up. As you can see here, it will tell you how many agents are there, and this is different. Since I was running some builds, you can say the max agents were there. There were one provision, there was one pending return, and these are the request duration, how much was the time, and how many builds were completed, things like that, any failures, anything like that. So all of that will come here. And there are certain things that you can go ahead and change. So if I want to go ahead into the pool, I can change certain things, but there are certain things I cannot change. For example, I can increase the max number of agents. I can change the agent size, OS disk type, and add more images into the gallery. I can do all of that. I can, work with scaling. I can make those changes. As far as I know, the networking, um, that can be changed as well. But there are certain things which you may not be able to change once you have created this resource. Okay, so and I'm just want to show you how to run this pipeline. So this is my pipeline that I have. Let me show you. And I'm just running a very simple pipeline. It's a demo pipeline, and I'm targeting this pool. So this is the pool. If you can see here, this is the pool. It is now added to this particular project. So if I go into the organization setting and if I go into the agent pools, you will see here this one, DPS pool. So it is added. Okay. And then I can go back here and I can go back to the project, and now I can run this pipeline. So I can go in here and I can say this is the pipeline. As you can see, this is a very simple pipeline. There's nothing, I'm not doing any build. I'm just want to bring the agent into action, just print hello world. That's all there is to it. Okay. So let me run this pipeline, and um, and it will use that. I just want to show it to you. In the meantime, I have done a few runs, and that's what you can see here. As you can see here, if we go for 7 days, you see multiple times you have provision agents, and then they are going given back to the pool. If we look at 1 hour, you see a more kind of a, um detailed picture where the node is starting, and and then node, uh, and you will see different states. So if you go to the pool, you will see different states, like what is the condition. So for example, sorry, agents. If you go to the agents, so right now there are no agents. Agent is requested, but once an agent shows up, you will see what is the image version and things like that. That's pretty much I want to talk about. We have 2 more minutes. Any questions? I think comment or question. Let me see the chat, folks. Ah, I can't comment on GitHub. Sorry. Yeah. So there was a question that will that be available for GitHub? No, I'm not sure about it. Yeah, that's a good question. Let's take it offline. Any questions, folks? Okay, so if there are no other questions, I will give everybody their 1 minute back and hope to see everybody next week for another session of Azure Power Lunch. Thank you very much.